is this a correction in what we've gotten used to over the last 40 years, which is interest rates trending down, which means stocks and bonds float upwards. So the 60-40 portfolio, you just couldn't lose.
Right.
You always bought the dip.
Yep.
You couldn't go wrong. As long as you held at least a couple of years, you always came out great.
Always, yeah.
And is this just another correction and it's just more and more upside for the NASDAQ and everything? Or are we at like a Kondratiev, like 100-year cycle? Or if you want to frame it from Strauss and Howe, the fourth turning, that kind of 90-ish year big picture cycle, which the framing of that makes a lot of sense to me. It helps me stay sane amidst all the division and polarization and anger and sort of questioning and wanting to tear down, and probably the successful at some point tearing down of at least certain institutions and structures that we've gotten really used to. If this isn't business as usual, if it isn't interest rates just keep going down and we're in eternal deflation, or at least disinflation, well, then what does that look like?
Right.
How do you position for that and position in a way that you can ride out the volatility of that trend change before the trend becomes clear?
Right.
And then you're like, okay, I survived.
Yeah.
I survived the transition period and I'm on the right side. And so, you and I, our bets are on precious metals and probably other commodities, because commodities relative to the S&P or the NASDAQ or other things is still like at like multi-decade lows.
Right.
So how do you play that? And it's something that's really worth considering. And are we moving to a regime of, instead of passive investing, where you just stick it in the cheapest, lowest cost S&P fund and a bond fund and just forget about it? Everyone's 401k, almost everyone's kind of just auto-programmed to that. Well, is it a stock picker's market?
Right.
And it's interesting that in the context of that Citibank is like, oh, we're going to be advising people to move into the miners because they're going to be paying dividends.